All right, folks. I'm going to be relatively quick because I don't have too much to say. So this is one of the first projects I've been involved on that uses QGIS. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm Jody Garnett. Hi, I wear a hat. I'm involved in a number of open source projects, most usually GeoServer and GeoTools, and I volunteer with a couple of the different software foundations. I've recently joined with a really fun, relaxed company called GeoCat that's based out of the Netherlands. And this is a relatively small company of 10 folks or so. And it is really an open source company. So a lot of the work they do involves building up their business around open source and open source projects. And they're based out of this cute little village, university town. And they've got a number of products that they sell, Live, Bridge, etc., that are built around the different open source projects, GeoServer, GeoNetwork, PostGIS, and QGIS. I'm going to be talking about one of them called Bridge today. So what I'd like to focus on is GeoCat Bridge offers the idea of doing a one-click publish to the web.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is going to take place in 3 stages. One is just the data publication. And this is something that QGIS does very well. Taking your data, publishing it out to PostGIS and different web services. Also publishing the metadata, the description of the information, so that your maps and your data products can be found. This is the core competency of the GeoCat crew. QGIS can now record metadata for a data set, but it's really a large challenge to adapt that into the formats used online. And the last one is QGIS offers all kinds of amazing cartographic output options. We saw a lot of them earlier this morning. It's a really rich desktop environment. Sharing that cartography between different desktops and mobile devices can be a real challenge. In particular, the QGIS SLD export is, frankly terrible. So we'll be looking a little bit at that. So the idea with one-click publishing is we want to set everything up so that once you've got your data ready, you can hit publish and have all 3 of these stages happen. So, but first of all, why are we doing this for QGIS? Bridge is primarily an Esri-based product. So it's an extension for ArcMap, I think it is, that allows ArcMap users to take advantage of a lot of the open source infrastructure. And our customers have started asking us, hey, we're adopting QGIS. Do you have a copy of Bridge for QGIS? And we didn't have one. So there was no metadata support available in QGIS at the time. The SLD export for QGIS was really very limited. It's improved a little bit in the last year, but it still didn't support things like expressions and so on. And there was a powerful QGIS GeoServer plugin already available. And we also had a bit of uncertainty around the business model for QGIS plugins. So a couple things have happened. Metadata support has recently been added for QGIS, so we now have some of the information we would need to make this one-click publishing possible. The SLD support improved, but it's still very limited. And the QGIS GeoServer plugin has been abandoned. It was done by a company called Boundless, which has been purchased, and so that product's been abandoned. And GeoCat decided that they're willing to experiment with doing a commercially supported GPL plugin. So GeoCat Bridge, offering desktop publishing to the open technologies, one-click publishing for QGIS and also from the Esri products, focusing on doing the metadata export, the data export, And then we're enjoying doing a whole bunch of the cartography export. We did just publish this up as an experimental module earlier in the week. We're waiting for it to be approved. So if you search online and check the little box to show also experimental plugins, hopefully later today you can search and find GeoCat Bridge in the list. You can then go and activate the plugin. It's under the web module. Then you can set up the plugin with the services you want to publish to. You can go in and fill extra metadata associated with all of the layers. The QGIS metadata editor doesn't provide quite enough information, so this lets you fill in additional details. If you need to do any data prep, maybe you need to rename some of the attributes. Maybe you don't want to publish all of the attributes. You can do that also. And we've developed a library, which I'll talk about later, which does a lot of the cartography conversion between what QGIS has internally and a bunch of the different formats like SLD, MapServer, map files, Mapbox style, and so on for vector tiles. And once you've set all of that, you can hit publish. You can choose the servers you want to publish to and hit go. And you get a little report back on how it did. And then you get a list of all of the layers, and you can open up a little preview from the WMS or WFS. Okay. So in terms of metadata publishing, we're converting from the QGIS format to the different ISO formats. Does anyone here work with metadata? I know we had a couple libraries, so this probably means more to you than to me, something about an MEF file format. And when we go to publish the data, you've got the option of packaging it up in a geo package and transferring it to the server, or if your QGIS desktop and the server can both see a PostGIS, you could directly publish the data to the database or reference a table that's being used on the database. Okay. For publishing to GeoServer, we're really taking charge of doing all the cartography publishing ourselves. So all of the built-in symbols are now mapped correctly. All of the icons and SVG files you're using are uploaded to the server. It has support for the parameters in the SVG file, support for expressions and data-defined parameters. None of this functionality was available in the QGIS export to SLD. And we're also able to use some of the geometry transformations and do things like heat maps and so on, which are cartography decisions you'd make locally on QGIS, but you didn't necessarily have the option to publish that online. We're also experimenting with setting up an export to vector tiles. So right now we're trying to choose between different technologies. So you have a choice of publishing your vector tiles through GeoServer, but there's a large number of lightweight PostGIS solutions. So is anyone working with vector tiles here? A couple people? What are you using? Pardon? GeoServer. Okay. Is anyone using one of the lightweight PostGIS ones?
I'm involved with the project that is, but I'm not directly.
Okay.
GeoServer.
Okay. And then as part of that is taking your map from QGIS and exporting it out as a Mapbox style. And then you can use that in open layers or in Mapbox GL in order to have a nice visual. Okay. We also offer a hosted platform called GeoCat Live. This is primarily aimed at municipalities and so on who don't necessarily want to take on the burden of running all this open source software. So there's a little turnkey solution there that will run you a GeoNetwork and a GeoServer and a PostGIS. And you can fill that in from GeoCat Bridge here. Okay. I'm primarily an open source developer. You can tell I'm not a salesperson. I'm really excited about this as an open source project. So GeoCat Bridge is GPL. It is a commercial plugin. So we're offering commercial support, but to support our customers, because it's QGIS, they get a copy of the source code because it's GPL. So it is free software, but primarily our target audience is our paying customers. But it is up there on GitHub. You can go and have a look at it. Then we do have some open source libraries. Who here used the QGIS Web module? A couple people? Okay. So Bridge Style is a Python library, and it converts between all the different all the different cartography formats. It's an open source MIT license. It's a Python library, and it can export out as SLD or Mapbox style or the MapServer files. And interestingly, it also has a command line. So you can call style to style on the command line, and you can convert between these different formats. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this picked up and adopted by the community. There's lots of scripting and automation tasks that I think this will really be beneficial for. It's available on GitHub, Python 3, MIT license. GeoCat welcomes collaboration. This library has already been picked up by QGIS Web, which is really, really nice to see. And then we've also been collaborating with a group called Geo Styler. Has anyone heard of these folks? Okay. So this is a generic styler for geodata. I think it's written in JavaScript. We got a tour when we were at a code sprint with them. But they defined their own JSON format. So rather than define one for our project, we adopted theirs. So we use their Geo Styler data structure internally as our representation of styling. Okay. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. So I do encourage you to check out GeoCat Bridge. We're aiming for a release candidate this week, and it'll be something that we hope to publish this quarter. Any questions? Yep.
Yes, I know your tool originally supported ArcGIS Desktop. Does it also support Pro?
It doesn't support Pro yet. That's what we will be doing next.
Okay.
It's part of the bigger picture here. By putting a lot of this functionality into the Python libraries, we can make use of it from QGIS, from ArcGIS, ArcMap, and ArcPro. So that's, yeah, you've hit on the bigger picture. Okay. Some questions I've got previously. Why not improve the QGIS SLD directly? We really wanted to go for a Python library, in part to do that command line scripting. And we have a good reputation for collaborating with the Python projects. And we also needed to go with Python in order to integrate with the Esri desktop products. Also, the QGIS community, because they've got the QGIS-server, they don't have a strong tradition of supporting the SLD standard. There's no business case for it. So we were really focusing on the collaboration. Why MIT license? Once again, that's just so we can use those libraries in QGIS and then also in ArcMap and ArcPro environments. Has anyone used GeoPackage metadata? Okay. This is something we'd like to work with the QGIS leadership on. QGIS doesn't have great support for metadata yet. We would like to have an option to load the metadata from the GeoPackage if the information's available there. Okay, this is the North American profile for metadata. The QGIS metadata model has a really fixed structure. On publication, we gather all those different details and we transform into the North American profile. We also take that transformation approach from publishing to Inspire and other industry profiles. Who here has enjoyed their paper clips? I have a little cheat sheet. So the paperclip is for metadata, because you're attaching stuff to it. The little cloud is for that GeoCat Live. The bridge is for the bridge, which we've just heard about, bridging between systems. And the little diamond there is for GeoServer, because their logo is kind of a little diamond map shape. And then this one I didn't really get, but the open one is at hand, because we also offer services and support this stuff. So there's your cheat sheet. Okay.
Hey, Jody, do you mind explaining the difference between GPL and MIT license, since you brought it up, and I'm not sure that...
Okay. Sure. I'm just trying to see if I've got a good slide for it. So QGIS is a GPL project, so GNU public license, I believe. And this is a very, trying to think of a good way to describe it. It's an open source license that, depending on how you think about it, it's very aggressive. So if you take QGIS and make a plugin or modify it, your modification has to also use the GPL license. You don't have the option of doing something else with it. You don't have the option of making a proprietary component out of it. MIT license is a little bit more relaxed. It's what we call a permissive license. So I can take a component that's made with the MIT license, and I could make it closed source if I wanted. I could combine it with the Esri products if I want. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yep.
Yeah, so there are two different tools depending on what you want to accomplish. So the QGIS community really wants to focus on the freedom aspect of it. And one way of doing that is by enforcing that all of the work that happens in the QGIS ecosystem is under the GPL license, is under this open source license. For the Python community, they're a little bit more fire and forget. So they're going to write their Python library. They're like, here, use it, have fun. They don't really care how people end up using the Python libraries. So the Python community is very happy with the MIT license. So you can make a few educated guesses about a community based on what licenses they've chosen. Okay, cool. Thanks everyone. I'm sorry my voice is pretty